Hello, world. This is America's Supermom, and this is a special edition that I call the Corona Chronicles. During this time, we are suffering from a pandemic that is affecting everyone across the world. We are joined with the rules and regulations of being shelter in place, which means we are limited with the ability to go about our daily business, confined to our homes based on a coronavirus that has been sweeping the entire world. For some people, the effects could be mild. For others, it can be fatal. So we are coming together as a community, as a family during this time of difficulty to share what it is like in our part of the world, how we are affected, and the things that we have in common, what kind of problems that are taking place in our industries and in our relationships and finances, and coming together so that we can plan for a better tomorrow. As this epidemic or pandemic crosses the world, we are waiting for relief. We're waiting for the virus to die off and for us to go back to some state of normalcy, whatever that may be, after things kind of settle down. So, what is that going to look like once the dust settles? How are things going to be different? So, as we go through this process, we're coming together as a world to create ideas, strategies, connect in ways that we have never connected before. So, that is the purpose of the special podcast that I call the Corona Chronicles, so that we can get some insight and have empathy and compassion on one another, create new innovative ideas that can not only improve our life, but our fellow brothers and sisters across the world. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. I'm really excited about my next guest. Darla is here with me. She and I got connected organically through a company that we're both affiliates with, which is Send Out Cards. So I really am excited to have her here today. She is really like a key person within our organization, just with her mindset about human connections and relationship building. And she just really is someone who is really clear about the importance of building a network and in the right way when it comes to conducting business. And so I'm just really excited for her to give us some insight, as we kind of go through these uncertain times and people are trying to pivot, and to really understand the importance of how relationship marketing can continue to propel you forward in spite of the uncertainty that we are facing today. So at this time, I'm going to give Darla the opportunity to introduce herself before we dive into the interview.
Well, thank you so much for that introduction, and I'm excited to be here, Lachelle. It's a beautiful morning over here in San Diego. The birds are
Mhm.
chirping. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but it's a beautiful day to be alive. And, you know,
Awesome.
it is very uncertain times that we live in, but I honestly believe that it's what we make of it. For some,
Mhm.
it's not that case, and then for others, it is, because we truly get what we focus on. We really do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
like, I sent you this morning a picture of my mail that came for my birthday this past week, and how we had to go get a big wagon to pull the
Yeah.
mail that was as tall as my daughter, who's 16 years old and 5'9". it,
Yes.
what you appreciate appreciates. And
Mhm.
just like you've learned over this past journey in Send Out Cards, my journey started in Send Out Cards 4.5 years ago. And in hindsight, looking back over life, I've understood the philosophy of what you appreciate appreciates, because
Mm-hmm.
I was a young entrepreneur. I started in the salon business really young. I dropped out of high school and went to beauty school, and then got out of beauty school and got my first job and fell in love with the profession and found my calling to make people feel beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
and went off into the business world really young and didn't have a clue how I was going to build a clientele. I just had a dream and a
Mm.
few core principles that had been ingrained in me since I was a kid. And my mom was one of those moms that made us kids write thank you cards
Mm-hmm.
and it instilled in us. And I was one of those kids who read the Guinness Book of World Record all the time, trying to think of how I was going to get in it. I wanted to get in the Guinness Book of World Record. And I read that book over and over and over again. Tried everything you could imagine, never made it. But I but I remembered the story of the world's best salesman, and how he did it was by handwriting cards. So when I
Mm.
started in my business venture, I said, you know what? I know how to do this. I'm going to start handwriting cards. And I mean, I'm 53 now. I started in my journey of life, gosh, 35 years ago, 35, 45, 35 plus years ago, as a
Mm-hmm.
young kid writing thank you cards on white postcard papers, with just a hand pen to paper, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd send thank you cards and thank you for the referral and nice to meet you and happy birthday cards and Christmas cards, and our clientele grew and grew and grew. And as we grew from one business to the next, we got to the point where we had to start putting mail rooms in our salons, where we had employees that was their only job, and they sat there all day and they hand wrote cards. And then we started printing them on Avery labels, and then
Mm.
yeah, it grew our businesses. It was like the glue that held our clientele together, because people felt appreciated and they felt valued.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward, our journey lasted 19 years, and we grew to the top 200 fastest growing salons in the country with 16,000 clients. And we were
Wow.
getting $100 for men's haircuts and $200 for women, and it was nothing to drop $500 to get your hair done every 6 weeks, colored and cut and
Mm.
highlighted. And we had 49 employees total, because if you hired the 50th, you went into a new tax bracket. So we always stayed at 49.
Mm-hmm.
And we sent thousands of cards. And all, it's funny in hindsight. You look back over life and you notice how the
Mm-hmm.
journey goes. And when email was born, we did what everybody else did, and we pivoted and we shifted. And we said, let's get rid of the employees and the payroll taxes and the overhead and the paper and the stamps and all that kind of stuff, and save the time and the money, and let's go to email, and let's start emailing all of our clients their thank you cards. And we thought it was the most genius invention to mankind. But what we
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize is we took away the personal touch. And then we
Mm.
started falling apart and going in the different direction. And then came the crash of 2008. And then that's when my world came crashing down. So we went from being 100% debt free and living in our dream house and being in the top 200 fastest growing salons in the country and having 5 locations total, one after the other, to crashing and burning and losing it all. And
Wow.
during that time is when I was introduced to network marketing. And I didn't understand network marketing. I didn't believe in it. I was ignorant, if you want to know the real truth. I didn't know anything about
Mm-hmm.
it. I only had a
Mm-hmm.
perceptive mindset on what I thought it was. And so a local businessman had been driving me crazy to take a look at a business opportunity, and I kept doing what most people do and pushing him away and telling him no thank you and I'm not interested and not even looking, being closed-minded.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I knew
Mm-hmm.
thought I knew what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily for me, he was insistent and persistent and consistent, and he was relentless. He was not going to stop until I gave him 30 minutes. And I'm really glad for that today. Trust me.
Mm-hmm.
If he would
Mm-hmm.
have stopped, I would not even be on this call with you. So it was in March of 2008. I'm sitting in church on a Sunday morning, doing what most people did back then and praying to God for a way to save their businesses and their homes and trying to figure out why they were going through what they were going through. Pretty much like what a lot
Mhm.
of people are going through today. It's a repeat.
Mhm. Mhm.
And not understanding that it was happening for a reason, because you don't have that vision when you're in the midst of the storm.
Mhm.
And the pastor told the story of the big flood. And he told the story of how there was a flood and they went to save the guy, evacuate people. And this one guy said, "No, I'm not evacuating. God's going to save me." And he refused to leave. And so they sent a
Mhm.
boat, a plane, a helicopter, and he sent them all away. And then finally he dies. And so he gets to heaven and he says, "God, what's up? You said you would save me." And
Mhm.
then God said, "Son, who do you think sent the boat, the plane, and the helicopter?" So that Tuesday, following that Sunday, is the day the banks pulled back the $100,000 credit lines to all the people that had big bank accounts, which we were one of those.
Mhm.
And so our payroll was $55,000 every 2 weeks. And by this time, we're floating our payroll into
Mhm.
we're dipping into our float because things are headed in the wrong direction. And
Mhm.
so the bank called that day to let us know that they weren't going to be able to cover our payroll. We were $20,000 overdrawn. And I was just sitting at my desk. Just by this time, I was exhausted. I was just mentally exhausted from spinning plates and robbing Peter to pay Paul and,
Mhm.
going everywhere trying to get another loan and just downsizing, laying off, cutting back, you name it. I was exhausted, mentally exhausted by
Mhm.
this time. And so I'm sitting at my desk and I'm just hopeless. I'm helpless. I'm defenseless. I don't know what to do. And I'm crying in my hands. And I look up on my camera monitors and I look into the lobby and this guy is standing in my lobby again. And I thought, you picked the worst day ever to come talk to me about your little business deal. And I was going to go like give him a few pieces of my mind because by then he was bothering me by then.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that little voice, the little voice that I talk about all the time, the little voice that I listened to today so clearly, and that little voice said to me, "Why won't you listen?" And I was like, "What?" And it was, "Why won't you listen?" And then I remembered the story of the big flood. And I went,
Mhm.
I wonder if this could be the answer to my prayers that I've been praying so hard for this whole time. And could this be the boat, the plane, or the helicopter? And I
Mhm.
thought to myself, I have to at least listen. I wonder if I just had this internal push
Mhm.
and the tap on the shoulder, as some people refer to it. And so I went into the other office and I told my husband, I said, "I'm going to go listen." And he looked at me like I had lost my mind because I had convinced him by this time that this guy was trying to pitch me a scam. I've already sold him on everything that I didn't know. And my husband's like, "You've got to be kidding me today." And I'm like, "Yes, something's telling me." And he only wants 30 minutes. So blow my phone up at 31 minutes and get me out of there. I don't want to get stuck in an Amway meeting, was my exact words.
Mhm.
Because I didn't even really know what Amway was. It was all
Right.
perception.
Right.
And so I went and I looked and I came back 2.5 hours later. My husband was so worried, thought I got kidnapped. And I was like bouncing off the walls. He's like, "What did you just do? What happened to you? What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I don't know what I just saw, but I need a check." And he's like, "A check? We don't have any money." And I'm like,
Mhm.
"I know. I'm going to write a hot check." And he's like, "What? You've lost your mind." I'm like, "I'm listening to this voice. I'm writing a hot check." And so
Mhm.
I wrote a hot check that day it was actually the next day for
Mhm.
$720, and
Mhm.
I figured out a way to cover the check, and that decision went on to change our life forever, and it enabled us to be able to dig out of our hole and retire our
Mhm.
family and reinvent our life and set us free. And turned out to be the worst days of my life were the answer to my prayers and my blessing in
Wow.
disguise. And my biggest lessons that I learned was how close-minded I was and
Mhm.
how false perceptions create false realities. And
Mhm.
we do it all day long. The same opportunities cross all of our plates. It's only that a
Mhm.
few have the vision and the awareness to sit down.
Mhm.
And it's because of the way we were raised. I was raised
Mhm.
on money doesn't grow on trees, and if it's too good to be true, run the other way.
Right.
And we raise our daughter on money does grow on trees, and let us teach you how to plant the seeds. And if
Mm.
it looks too good to be true, you better sit down and pay attention and ask a lot of questions, because that's called opportunity. And we only get
Mm.
a few of them in our lifetime.
I love that.
So that's my story in a nutshell. And that's why today I'm so loud about network marketing, because of I ruined a lot of people's dreams, my friend. People used to ask me
Mhm.
all the time about companies. Here's another bit of advice that I give people is be careful who you take your advice from. Don't take
Right.
advice about things from people who have not mastered it previously.
Mhm.
My clients would look up to me because I made a lot of money, and we had a very great life, and I was businesswoman of the year, and we were business of the year. I was very decorated in awards in our community because of who I was back then, but I wasn't a network marketer, and people would ask me network marketing advice because I was a
Mm.
successful business person. And today I tell
Mhm.
people, asking a massage therapist advice about your hair color is not a good idea. They may work
Right.
in the same building, but they're not the same trade. It's like
Mhm.
asking a doctor about cellular level advice. They don't even know what
Mhm.
that is because it's
Mhm.
not in their wheelhouse.
Mhm.
They talk about drugs. Let's talk about drugs. You talk to a doctor.
Right.
And so I used to give a lot of people the same advice that people hear today about those things don't work, they're scams, only people at the top make all the money, because we were taught those things. We it's
Mhm.
I tell people, if I would have had a sister or a brother or a mother or a father that had been like me and done what I did in the industry, like my daughter is aware of, my daughter
Mhm.
has grown up with parents that have been free. She has traveled the world. She has gone on a
Mhm.
1 year vacation with us
Mhm.
while being
Mhm.
homeschooled. She has stood on stages. She has watched her parents win car after car and trip after trip. And, she's grown up in this world of personal development and understanding how really true this industry is. I didn't have that. And
Mhm.
that's the reason why people don't believe, is because they don't know someone personally that did it. They don't.
Mhm.
So therefore, they ask advice and opinions to people who haven't done it, and they get that advice. They get that false, bad negative advice. And so that's why I'm loud
Right.
today, because
Yeah.
I ruined a lot of people's dreams. I really did, because they took my
Mhm.
advice back then, and my advice
Mhm.
was not right. So that's I've devoted my life to shedding light on this industry to get people to realize that you can set yourself free and you can reinvent your life. And freedom is something that is achieved in a few short months, not over a lifetime. It doesn't exist
Mhm.
anymore like our parents used to work for 45 years at the same job and have stock options and retirement options, and you know.
Mhm.
So that's
So
me in
true.
a
And
nutshell.
that is awesome. And I think I love how you say that, your daughter has been exposed to so much more based on a life of personal development. So for people who are listening and, they aspire to do those things, I think a lot of people look at the highlight reel and they don't recognize the work that actually still goes into that. So before we started recording, we were having a conversation about the different administrative support that you have.
Hmm.
So talk to somebody about the work that actually has to take place in order for this well-oiled machine to run.
Well, when people ask me what I do today, the best title I can put on myself is I'm a serial entrepreneur, because I
Mhm.
have a lot of businesses. I have my hands in a lot of things. And
Mhm.
if you work it backwards, how did it all start? Because
Mhm.
it didn't happen overnight, but yet it did, because
Mhm.
overnight is a few short years, not a lifetime. So it's a phrase to a reality.
Mm.
And I have it doesn't matter what you do, Lachelle. If you're a
Mhm.
hairdresser, if you're a popular church that has 4,000 members, if you're a fitness center that has thousands of clients, if you're an
Mhm.
author that has, tons of readers, if you are, a famous singer or a band, you have a large following of fans. It doesn't matter what you are successful in. It will always, 100% of the time, require a large network of people that are your followers,
Mhm.
fans, customers, believers, supporters, you name it.
Mhm.
They're the people that tell all their friends about you in a positive way. And
Mhm.
in order to create wealth, you need a transaction happening between a customer to a product or a service, and you need it duplicating, not
Mhm.
transactional based. Like in, for example, my past life in hair salons, anytime you have to use your hands to create the transaction, every single time, you cannot stop creating the transaction or there is no money moving, which means you're never going to retire. I was
Mhm.
never going to retire in my salon world. If I stopped doing hair, there was no money. And
Mhm.
you can't create enough transactions to create enough money to buy years of time. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Definitely.
in
Mhm.
order in order to create wealth, you need money working for you or with you. You need
Mhm.
hands working for you
Mhm.
or with you. And
Mhm.
so understanding that, and knowing that you need a large network of followers, fans, believers, customers, you name it, those are the people that know you, love you, and like you. And
Mhm.
everybody in sales has read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And if you haven't read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People, the title in itself tells you what it's about. It teaches
Mhm.
you the art of being able to connect with people. Well, the secret is the faster you can make an emotional connection with someone, the faster you tap into the riches of relationships, which is
Mhm.
where opportunities and referrals and friends and love
Mhm.
come from, which is what
Mhm.
money flows through. That's where money comes from, is from the
Mhm.
opportunities and the referrals and the friends and the love. And what people don't understand when they're out there looking for money is they're missing out on, if you're only focused on money, you're missing out on the love of relationships, of the opportunities of friendships. You're focused on one thing. You don't tap into what's on the other side of all that, which is,
Mhm.
where most people can't get to. And so
Mhm.
if you focus merely on building relationships, having tools and systems in place, I couldn't do it on my own. You can there's tons of grids out there that show how the average person can manage about 15 to 25 really close relationships. That's all they have
Mhm.
time for. They don't have time to keep those really deep heartfelt relationships where people know everything about you. And then you
Mhm.
have the second layer of relationships, which are the people. I kind of use social media as the analogy. You've got the ones that the second you make a post, they're the first people that are going to comment on your post. You've got
Mhm.
15 to 25 of those. They're going to comment on every single post. They've got you marked as first to see. They see you all the time. They follow you deeply and closely. Then you have your second layer, and those are the people that comment on every other post. They'll come catch up with your posts every once in a while, and they love everything. Then you've got your
Mhm.
next layer that comment every once in a while, but they love and like on everything. Then you have
Mhm.
your next layer that they love and like everything, and they never comment. Then you have your next
Mhm.
layer that they love and like every once in a while because they're not on Facebook very often. Then you've got your next layer of the people that don't love and like anything. They scroll all the time. They read every post. They look at every post, but they don't ever engage or comment. And then you've got your next layer. There's this layers and layers and layers of relationships. Well,
Mm.
how do you bring all those outer layers forward and keep pulling them closer and closer and turn your inner layer to be thousands of people instead of 10 to 15 to 25 people? To bring them
Mm,
to build that inner layer is by learning how to connect on a heartfelt layer level with other people, how to tap into the riches of relationships. And it cannot be done, it's impossible to be done without tools, systems, and people.
mhm,
You've got to get tools, systems, and people working for you, which is what you have found when you found send
mhm,
out cards. You know,
mhm,
one of the biggest misperceptions that people have is that they'll think that you do send out cards. You do send
mhm,
out cards. You just want me to be a customer so that I can be another customer to you. And unfortunately, it's that ignorance, the same ignorance that I had back in the day. That's why I'm
mhm,
so loud. And it's like, no, I don't want you to do send out cards. I use send out cards. I don't do send out
mhm,
cards. I use send out cards. Send out
mhm,
cards is my tool that allows me to be able to make heartfelt relationships with people around the world. It's the system that I have in place that celebrates
mhm,
everybody's birthday and anniversary and the death of their pets and the birth of their
mhm,
children and the welcoming to their new home and captures their memories and helps me stay center of heart, not just front of
mhm,
mind, not just front of mind, center of heart. And that is
mm,
where business comes from. And so opportunities happen when you learn the art of human connections. That's the name of my coaching program. It's called Master the
mhm,
Art of Human Connections. Because when you do, you
mhm,
learn how to tap into the riches of relationships, which are opportunities, referrals, friends, and love. And so by getting into the habit of appreciating people and loving on people and putting
mhm,
kindness and really connecting with people instead of this superficial relationship that most people have where they don't even go past the first layer because they don't have time. They just don't have time.
mhm,
They're so busy working.
mhm,
They don't have time to say, I'm thinking about you and wanted to put a smile on your face today and send that to 6,000 people instead of one, you know?
right.
And that's when you get in the art of learning how to use tools and systems to deposit a piece of it. If you turn my cards over and you read the back of my cards, it says why I send cards. Cards are
Mhm,
like a vehicle. They're like a vehicle that carry a piece of me into the heart of another. Upon its
mm,
arrival, it releases a shot of dopamine to the brain, which puts a smile on the receiver's heart forever. And
mm,
when you understand that it's a tool and it's something that you use versus something that you do, then there's a
mhm,
shift. Now you realize that I've got a tool that will put a piece of my heart into the hearts of others in abundance. Then now you start tapping into opportunities, and this is where businesses are born. This is where opportunities arise, and this is where inventions are made, and collaborations are done, and new alignments are created, and new visions come to life.
mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Oh, good. That's awesome. And, I love the way, even going back and listening to, when you had those salons, you created a mail room. So you recognize the importance of the follow up so much that it was something that you invested in, that a lot of people who had a salon, I'm sure, I mean, for you to accomplish what you accomplished, it's obvious they weren't doing that, so
Well, the
the
number
fortunate
one
step of,
the number one salesman in the Guinness Book of World Record, his name is Joe Girard, and he was a car salesman, and he would show up to work every day, and there would be a line of people waiting to buy a car from him. He would never even step out onto the lot. And the way that he did it is he sent 40,000 cards a year. That was his average,
mm,
40,000 cards a year. And he had a team of people, and that's all they did is sit and send cards. Now, here's where most people fall off the wagon is they start out sending cards when they're new
mhm,
in business, when they're just getting
mhm,
started. Then they get busy, which
mhm,
is what happens because you get
mhm,
business. Then they get too busy to send cards because they don't have a tool and a system That's when you
Mm-hmm.
need to transition and you need to start getting hands working for you, tools and systems working for you, so that you can keep up with the very thing that got you started.
Mm. That is just profound right there because a lot of people feel like they're too busy and things that are necessary they don't get done.
Yep.
Whereas if you recognize that you're getting busy instead of you doing that thing, then that's when you delegate or create a system for somebody else to run that so that that task doesn't get um, overlooked because
Yep.
it's still a part of your business growing, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's like you
100%.
feeling like you're so busy driving you can't stop at the gas station to get gas. I mean, you're not
Exactly.
going anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's good. So this is just awesome. So now, what are some of the, so you have your coaching, you've got send out cards, you say you're a serial entrepreneur. What are some other things that you are working on?
I have a virtual assistant business. It's a team of
Mhm.
virtual assistants, and I'll tell you in a short how it was born.
Mhm.
Is I am not a computer savvy person. I am a visionary. I'm not analytical at all. I don't do
Mhm.
spreadsheets. I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. It's just the way we're all
Mhm.
made up differently.
Right.
And I had the vision of what I wanted done, but I didn't have the technical side of it to be able to complete it. And I had a friend who was very analytical and super smart with spreadsheets and being able to read back office reports and stuff like that. And one day
Mhm.
I said to her, I said, can I hire you for a couple hours to run a few reports for me? And, because I knew I had hundreds of customers, but I didn't know how to find them because I didn't know how to run my reports. Well, I had no
Mhm.
clue I had over 700 customers. I didn't know that. And
Mhm.
and therefore I wanted to appreciate my customers, but I didn't know who they were because I didn't know how to run the reports. So I paid a
Mhm.
friend to run me some reports. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Well, back in my salon days, my husband and I have been together for 23 years. And I hired him when he was 19 to work, no, 21 to work for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And he then became my assistant, and then my business partner, and then my husband, and in some type of order like that. and
Mhm.
and he's always been my analytical person that does all my reports and all that sort of stuff. And that's how we built all my big salons and everything, because I had someone that could do what I couldn't do. So he could take my vision and put it on paper. Well, I
Mm.
had this friend, and I always used to call her, you're so much like, I used to tell her she's so much like my husband, but the female version of my husband. It was always a,
Mhm.
little joke. And so then I said to her one day, can I hire you to run me some reports and show me some things? So she did, and that was the beginning of just miracle after miracle after miracle. And I said, we're onto something here, because I know I'm not alone. I know I am not the only
Mhm.
person out there that wants to do what send out cards can provide, but doesn't have either the time for the learning curve to learn it, or the desire to learn it, or the type of mindset that will allow them to learn it. And I said, I know
Mhm.
there's more people out there. Well, they're everywhere. There's people all over that have heard of send out cards. They understand what it does. They think it's a great concept and a great system, but they don't have the time to learn it. And they're so busy working because they're their own employee, or they're a super busy business that doesn't have enough, help for them to be free to learn how to do it themselves. And they're willing to invest in the ability for someone else to do it. So basically,
Mhm.
what the company does is, we tell people, imagine having your entire networks, all of them, pulled into your send out card system, and their birthdays logged, their addresses, their emails, their phone numbers, their spouse's names, their spouse's birthday, their wedding anniversary, their children's names, their children's birthdays, and having them all grouped into their proper groups: customers, mothers, fathers, grandparents, veterans, realtors, mortgage people, and whatever
Wow.
whatever it is that you do, your touch points as well. And then
Mhm.
having birthday cards and anniversary cards being sent out to all of these people, along with sorry for your loss, congratulations on your new
Mm.
baby, congratulations on your proposal. All custom cards made on your behalf from you going out all day long on your behalf, making you look like a rock star.
Yeah.
It is. And
Yeah,
it's
that is so, yeah.
all day long, messages coming back. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Your card couldn't have come at the most perfect time. I'm sitting here holding it and I'm bawling my eyes out in tears. I can't even tell you how much this picture means to me because people don't print pictures anymore. They put them on social media
Right.
and they're gone in an instant. And I'll share one last thing because I know I can talk for hours, but I want to share one
Hmm.
last little vision. You
Okay.
know, people think that people don't send cards anymore because social media.
Mhm.
Oh, I make posts. I
Mhm.
make posts. I want you to think about when is the last time you got a post that somebody made on social media and you sat and held it in your hands and cried. And then you put it in a
Mhm.
frame on your wall and it made you cry
Mhm.
every time you looked at it. And then I want you to think about a billboard on the side of the road that somebody paid $10,000 for. When is the last time you looked at a billboard and pulled over and cried and said that was the nicest thing they could have ever done for me?
Mhm.
It hasn't happened. And the
Hasn't
reason
happened.
why is because there's no dopamine in a social media
Mm.
post or on a billboard or a newspaper ad or a magazine ad or a piece of junk mail or spam mail. There's no
Mhm.
dopamine. There's no personal touch. And
Mm.
people are all about promoting themselves. People don't want to
Right.
hang a picture of you on their refrigerator. They want to hang a
Mhm.
picture of their children or their own home
Mhm.
or their own family on their refrigerator.
Mhm.
And they will think about you every single time they see it.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. And they will think of you because, you're the one who made it happen for them. That is
Mhm.
awesome. I mean, you definitely have so much insight. This is wonderful. I mean, we would have to have you come back again with all the ideas. This is just, I mean, just amazing. I mean, just, so excited to show everybody how much mail you received on your birthday. I mean, this is just amazing. But,
Well, that's
it's
my
all,
after birthday. Wait till I send you the picture of the pre birthday. I got that twice.
wow, that is just awesome. But it just is a testament. This is another thing I tell people is that, you know, don't just follow people, on the surface level, but dig deeper and see that their actions are lining up with what they say. You know, I mean, of course, this whole program that you're doing is obvious why you are successful in that because you're actually walking the talk that you say. So many people get into the trap of looking at the distractions or some of the shiny objects, but not asking the right questions so that they really can get the transformation that they're desiring.
Yeah, that's very true.
Mhm.
I truly
So what's
believe
the
that we were connected for a reason, and I can't wait to see how, it's a beautiful thing how the universe aligns people and God puts people together to put
Mhm.
power out there to help other people.
So true. And, definitely impacting the lives of others is, that's few and far between sometimes, because a lot of people are stuck. There's so many people that are stuck that they can't see others right now.
Hmm.
And, they need more light to be able to get out of the darkness that they may be in. And so it takes, really persevering and continuing to keep that light going. So that's an amazing observation. So, what's the best way for the audience to get a hold of you?
Well, I have a website, darlad.com, Darla
Mm-hmm.
D, two D's, a D on each side, .com, and I can be contacted on there, or I'm on Facebook, and I'm very approachable. It doesn't matter who you are, if I can add value to your life in any way, I'm here. That's my calling.
Awesome. Well, any final words you want to share with everybody?
If you keep doing what you keep doing, you're going to keep getting what you keep getting. And if you're afraid to make a change, the reason why there's fear there is because it's something different than you've gotten before. And Steve Harvey does a great talk on jump. Just jump.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to land somewhere different. And that's what you want. So many people right now with what's happening in the world were people that were in jobs that they couldn't stand. They wanted to have more time to spend with their family, and they've been given that gift. Their job is gone. They've been furloughed or laid off, or their company closed, and now they have time. And I look back
Mm-hmm.
over this last 90 days and I look at people and I look at how did you spend that time? What did
Mm-hmm.
you do with it to move your life forward? And then all these people that got all this unemployment that pays them more money than they even made at their job. What did you
Mm-hmm.
invest that money into? Did you invest it
Mm-hmm.
into something that can move your life forward, or did it get spent on, a new Sea-Doo or a motorcycle or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just invest in yourself and do something different. Hire a coach. You can only teach yourself to
Mm-hmm.
get as far as you've gone. And it has
Mm-hmm.
to start with you from within. You've got to work on you. Before you can get others to change, you must change. You must change.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts within
Mm-hmm.
your family. It starts within you. It starts within the inner side of you and the way you see things and the way you believe things to be, the way you communicate, the way you vibrate. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
vibrating in a distractive state instead of an attractive state. And then when you start raising your vibration and your frequency and learning how to become attractive, does the universe tip in your direction? And that's the investment you can make on yourself. The best investment you can make is to learn how to master the art of human connections, because that's what triggers opportunities, referrals, friends, and love.
Absolutely. Well, that was very well said. And I am really excited for what the future holds for us in terms of collaborating in the future.
Me too.
And I want to thank you again for your time. This has just been wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate all you do for everybody out there and appreciate your time as well and all the knowledge that you've given me.
Oh, well, you have a wonderful afternoon, and we will talk soon, okay?
Yes, we will. Have a blessed day.
All right.
Bye,
You too.
everyone. Bye.
Bye. What an amazing interview, guys. So many nuggets of wisdom. I really enjoyed the fact that it really stems from when you open your mind, you open yourself up to different opportunities that can change your life. I just think it's amazing. I encourage you to reach out to Darla. She feels it's her mission to help other people experience what she experienced. This is what life is all about, learning and teaching others, overcoming adversity, things in your life that you thought you might not have been able to overcome, and then sharing those lessons with others so that they can be empowered to do the same in their life. I just love it. This is just one of my most favorite interviews. But if you're interested in sharing your story, maybe there's some things that you've overcome. You want to share it with other people. This is the perfect platform to do it. So just send me an email at info@LachelleAtkins.com. You could also reach out to me through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest, and my YouTube channel. And I encourage you to share this podcast. This is a great podcast with lots of nuggets that someone can implement in order to change their whole life. It starts with one act and building on that act every day until you turn around and see that you are so much further than where you started. So I want to thank you guys for listening. And again, share this information with others because it could be a lifeline and could save them from uh, a negative pathway that they might be on. And just one small shift can change someone's life. Thanks again for listening.